So I bought a new grinder for the lathe, or for sharpening lathe tools. Old grinder is here. This is a 6-inch full speed using 2 white aluminium oxide wheels. I think they're both 120. This is the Vicmark 2 horsepower grinder. It's a slow speed grinder. I've got a CBN wheel. This is a 180 grit on one side. It's 40 millimeters that way. And on the other side, it is a 60 grit wheel. Also white aluminium. This will be good for probably reshaping tools. This will be good for sharpening them. So I need to build a grinder stand for the new grinder. As this is a FLOG, so we're looking towards the future projects, I kind of do need to look at the existing one to see what I do different, what I keep the same, that sort of thing. So the old grinder is on a flip top cart. On the bottom I've got a bench sander, and this works okay. The actual cart works just fine. It's just the way the tools are used isn't as good. To get them to rotate and to balance nicely, the tools basically need to be sitting on the axle. And that means that this is too far back. Ideally, you basically want your grinder almost all the way to the front with just the room for the tool rests. And that stops lathe tools from bumping into here, which happens quite a lot. So I'm not going to go for this. In previous videos, I've covered that I'm now using water stones. So I sort of want to keep all my sharpening gear together, both the lathe tools and flat tools. And it would be great if I had a dedicated surface to actually sharpen on rather than having to try and clear some space around the sink or wherever. In this workshop, something that rolls is great because then I can push it into a corner when I'm not using it and it won't get in the way of using the table saw or whatever. So to that end, I've got some casters. These are 100mm or 4-inch diameter wheels plus the frame. These are chunky. Not super cheap, but look around. You can get them for not too bad prices. I got this from FJ's, though you can buy from eBay. $11, which in Australia for a caster this size is amazing. So if we look at the design, we've got a few dimensions we need to be aware of. First is the height. Now, a rule of thumb I've seen is you want the center diameter of the wheel about the same height as the center of your spindle on the lathe. That's roughly where I'm at the moment with my grinder anyway. So I've got to take the midpoint of my grinder, the height of the casters, and subtract those from the height of my spindle, which is about 1100 millimeters, and then that gives me the cabinet height. Cabinet width is sort of a bit flexible. I've made it about 1200 mil wide because that works out well for materials. The depth is not dictated by the grinder, but I'm going to have a plastic tub to store water in. It won't have water sitting in it overnight, but it will sit in there while I'm sharpening. And that plastic tub needs to be long enough for my stones, or singular stone at the moment. And this happened to be the best size one that I could find. So that sets the depth, plus a little bit of working room around it so that it's not threatening to fall apart. So it gives us about 420 millimeters. Because I need to store a bunch of stuff as well, I need a safe spot for the sharpening stones, the sharpening jigs, for the spare grinder wheel. I'm going to have drawers on one side, so I'm going to have jigs, stones, and actually that's as far as I've gotten. I will find a way to fill it up, no doubt, but extra storage in the same footprint is not a bad idea. On the other side, because I don't need that much storage, I'm just going to have a door. I can always add shelves to that, but for now, that will be a good spot for that. And you might notice that I've got a bit of a jig underneath the grinder. I'm not going to use the same woodcut true grind jig. I've had issues with it, so I'm going to make my own. And this is based on a jig that I found online. What this will let me do is create custom arms to slide in and out, which will let me use the tool rests I've got on either grinder wheel, as well as the fingernail jig on either wheel. That means I can set up a new grind on the coarser wheel, then take it back to the CBN wheel for sharpening. If you've got other ideas on what I should be including in this sharpening station, let me know in the comments. something that you think I've missed, haven't covered, or something you really like in your sharpening setup, that'd be great. There will be plans eventually. I even have an A3 printer now, so plans are a lot easier to print out and see. I'm probably 3 to 4 weeks away from doing this at the earliest. I'd like to do it sooner, but I've got the bed build I'm currently working on, the boom arm for my vacuum, the leg vise for my workbench, which I really need to get done. And that's before my wife adds on any more projects, and she kind of is. So hopefully I can get these out of the way quick enough that I can get into the sharpening jig, then onto the actual furniture projects. Thanks for watching.